You have held one of these. Probably as a kid, on a beach, you picked one up, decided it was cute, and put it back. You were holding an alien, not as a figure of speech. The sea star is an animal with no brain, no blood, that sees out of the tips of its arms, eats by pushing its own stomach out through its mouth, and is almost impossible to kill because you can cut it apart and it will just grow the missing pieces back. And in 2023, scientists finally worked out what a starfish actually is, and the answer broke the rules for how an animal body is even supposed to be built. So let me introduce you to the most successful alien on Earth. The one that has been sitting in tide pools this whole time, pretending to be a decoration. Meet the sea star. You know it as the starfish, which is the first lie, because it is not a fish and never has been. No gills, no fins, no spine, no bones at all. It belongs to a group called the echinoderms, along with sea urchins, sand dollars, and sea cucumbers, which means its closest relatives are a pincushion and a vegetable that breathes through its own backside. There are around 2,000 species, from the size of a fingernail up to the sunflower sea star, which can grow over 3 feet across and carry up to 24 arms. And every one of them is built on a body plan so far from ours that biologists spent 2 centuries just trying to find its head. We will come back to the head. The answer is worse than not finding one. And here is the first strange thing about it. A sea star does not start out looking like this. When it hatches, it is a tiny, see-through larva drifting in the open ocean, and that larva is built like you are, with a left side and a right side, a front and a back, a normal little animal with normal symmetry. Then, when it settles down to become an adult, it throws that body away. It dissolves the left and right plan it was born with and rebuilds itself from the inside out into the 5-armed wheel, you know. It is not born an alien, it chooses to become one. Start with the obvious problem. A sea star has no brain, no central command, no skull, nothing running the show. What it has instead is a ring of nerves around its mouth and a nerve cord down each arm, and that is the whole system. Each arm is semi-independent, gathering its own information and pulling its own way, and the animal moves only when enough of the arms agree on a direction. It is run by committee, a slow, leaderless, 5-way argument that has somehow survived for 450 million years, which is longer than trees have existed, and considerably longer than the dinosaurs managed with their brains. It also has no blood, no heart, none of the plumbing you would expect. A sea star runs on seawater. It pulls the ocean in through a little sieve plate on top of its body, pumps that water through a network of internal canals, and uses it to work hundreds of tiny tube feet on its underside. Each foot is a small hydraulic piston that extends and grips by water pressure alone. Those same feet are also covered in sensors, so the animal is effectively tasting the water as it walks, smelling out a buried clam through the sand, and turning slowly, the way a bloodhound turns onto a scent. Up close, you can even watch it break into what biologists with a straight face call a gallop, throwing its arms to lurch toward food, faster than anything with no brain has any right to move. And when it arrives, those soft little feet working together can slowly drag open the shell of a clam that is clamped shut for its life. It only needs a gap of about 1/10 of a millimeter, and once it has that gap, things get unpleasant. Here is how a sea star eats, and I need you to understand that this is real and not an exaggeration. When it pries that shell open a fraction of a millimeter, it does not bring the food inside. It pushes its stomach out. It turns its own stomach inside out through its mouth, slides it into the crack in the shell, wraps it around the animal still living in there, and digests it on the spot, outside its own body, dissolving the prey into soup while it is still in its shell. Then it pulls the stomach and the meal back in. There is only one honest way to say this. The starfish eats you by climbing onto your house, vomiting its stomach through the door, and waiting. The cute thing from the beach is doing exactly this, right now, somewhere, to something, and it watches while it works, after a fashion, because a sea star has eyes, not where you would put them. There is a small eye at the tip of every single arm, a patch of light-sensing cells that picks out coarse shapes and helps it find its way home to a reef. So a 5-armed sea star has 5 eyes on the ends of 5 limbs, with no brain in the middle to assemble the picture. Whatever it is looking at, it sees as 5 separate fragments, agreed on by committee, in the dark, with no head. You get used to saying that about this animal, with no head, and not all of them are politely eating clams. Out on the coral reefs of the Pacific lives the crown of thorns, a sea star the size of a dinner plate, carrying up to 21 arms and covered head to foot in long venomous spines that snap off in your skin and burn for days. It eats coral, it climbs onto a living reef, pushes out that same stomach across the surface, and digests the coral alive, leaving nothing but white skeleton behind. A single one can strip its own body width of reef in a day, and every so often, for reasons we still do not fully understand, they erupt in plagues, thousands upon thousands, appearing at once, and eating a reef down to bare rock. The cute beach decoration has a cousin that strip mines the largest living structures on Earth. Now the part that makes it hard to kill. A sea star can regrow a lost arm easily enough, but some go much further. In certain species, a single severed arm, as long as it takes a piece of the central disc with it, can grow an entire new body from itself. One arm becomes one whole new animal, which means the old playground fact that cutting a starfish in half kills it is exactly backwards. In the right species, you have not killed it, you have made 2, and a few of them do this on purpose, with no predator involved, tearing themselves in half across the middle and walking off in 2 directions to become 2 clones. Reproduction by self-dismemberment. There is no good way to fight a thing whose response to being torn apart is to say, "Thank you." So for 200 years, the question that bothered scientists was simple: where is the front of this thing? Every animal you know, including you, is built head to tail, a line with a top and a bottom, because over 99% of animals share that same blueprint. The sea star, arranged like a wheel, seemed to have torn that blueprint up. And in 2023, a team mapped which bodybuilding genes switch on where across a sea star. Expecting to find a head somewhere and a body wrapped around it, they found the head. They could not find the body. The genetic signature for the trunk, the torso, the part that should make up most of an animal, was barely there, while the genes that mark the head were smeared across almost the whole creature. The conclusion they reached is the kind of sentence that stops you. A sea star is, more or less, just a head crawling along the seafloor on hundreds of feet with no body attached. The cute thing from the beach is a disembodied head that learned to walk. There is, in the end, one thing that does kill them, and it is grim. Since 2013, a wasting disease has been sweeping the Pacific coast, and it does not simply kill sea stars, it deletes them. Their arms twist, lesions open, the animal dissolves itself, arms crawling off in different directions, and then melting into white slime within days. Billions have died this way, and the sunflower sea star, that 3-foot giant, was nearly wiped out before scientists had even pinned down the cause, which only recently looks to trace back to a single bacterium. So, the creature that survives being cut to pieces, that has no brain or heart to stop, that has outlasted 5 mass extinctions, can still be brought down, just not by anything you would expect. It is undone by melting, and that is the sea star, not a fish. Barely a body, a brainless committee of arms running on seawater, eating by turning itself inside out, seeing in fragments, copying itself when attacked, and built, as far as its genes are concerned, like a head that walked off on its own. We keep studying it for one simple reason. An animal that regrows whole bodies from a scrap and rebuilds nerves we cannot rebuild in ourselves is holding a set of instructions we would very much like to read. The starfish has had them for 450 million years. It just keeps them, like everything else, with no head to explain. So next time you find one on the sand and think it is cute, you are not wrong. You're just early. Put it back before it gets hungry.